Hey friends, Chris Gonzalez here from the Movement Training Company, and today we're going to take a look at the TerraFlex trail shoe from Xeroshoes. Now we'll go through our usual shut test. I'll tell you what I like, what I don't like about these, and what my typical uses are for this particular shoe. So stay tuned. Alright, starting with our shut test. S is for sole. Now these come with 4mm lugs, which is these little spikes if you will, a 5mm field true base, and 3mm of bare foam. So all said and done, that's coming in at 12mm, and that's assuming you've already removed the 2mm insole that it does come with. Now I always like to remove the insoles because it just gets me a little bit thinner. Otherwise these shoes would be coming in at 14mm. Now, if I'm being honest, when I first put these shoes on, they felt like clunkers to me. I was used to the thin 4mm DIY sandals, which are basically nothing, and when I put these on, they felt like straight up work boots. However, over time, they've really grown on me for specific applications, which I'll touch on later, so these are still a go-to for me in my shoe library. All right. So the trouble with that 12 to 14mm is you lose a lot of the ground feel. It's still going to be leaps and bounds better than any standard shoe you're going to get on the market today. However, there's definitely some lacking there, which I'm not a big fan of. Also, I will say a positive thing is on the sole, I really do like these lugs for wet and muddy conditions because they obviously are a trail shoe and they're going to help keep you upright, which is always an important thing. So that's a look at the sole. Next in our shut test, we have our heel. So as with all Xeroshoes, as the name implies, they are zero drop. So there's no heel, no issues there. Pretty straightforward. Also, our upper is pretty straightforward for the most part. It's nice and breathable, holds it on your foot pretty well. You can adjust it really nicely so it doesn't overly constrict your foot. And they actually have this adjustable inseam strap. So if you want to bring that inner arch up a little bit, you can, or I prefer personally to leave it neutral so I don't have any extra support there. And fortunately, there's nothing built in as far as arch support goes. It's just a strap so you can adjust it however you want and be as neutral and minimal as you want with this upper. Lastly, for the shut test, we have our toe box. Now, this one, I will say it leaves me a little bit wanting, but most minimalist shoes still leave me a little bit wanting on the pinky toe side. Now, it's not constricting my pinky toe, but I wish there was just a little bit more room for me to wiggle that, as I've been really working on my toe splay, and I naturally have pretty wide feet already. So with the exception of one minimalist shoe I've tried, which is the Scott boot from Vivo Barefoot, which is actually discontinued now, every single other minimal shoe I've tried still has that little bit of room for improvement on the lateral side. So I'm not going to dock points for that, but I did want you to be aware of that. So as far as the shut test goes, I say it passes all of them with a little bit of exception of the sole. I still call it a pass, but you do want to be aware it is going to be thicker than some of your other minimalist shoes, but that's because this is designed for that little bit of extra protection. So that's a wrap of our shut test. All right, so I've put a few hundred miles on these shoes over the past couple years, and they've been holding up really well. I'm very pleased with the build quality. The upper is still in great shape, no issues with the stitching. The sole looks untouched, even though I've worn them a whole lot. You can see some great dirt as proof in there. And yeah, overall build quality, I'm very happy with them. The upper, which I didn't mention earlier, is pretty breathable, which I'm happy with. So now moving on to application. Like I said, these are a bit thick, but they are my go-to when I'm trail running in snowy conditions or slushy, muddy conditions, just because you can't always see what's under you when you're running, and I run mostly on unmarked forest trails. So it is nice to have the comfort of that extra protection with the slightly thicker sole without sacrificing too much ground feel. Now, an important note to that is I always wear smart wool socks with these in the snowy and wet conditions because they aren't designed to be waterproof. So if you don't do that, your feet are going to be really cold and uncomfortable pretty quickly. Now, the other thing I use these for is when I'm doing long hikes with a heavy backpack. So if I'm going backpacking or I'm taking the kids out for a long day hike, I do like the extra thickness here because, again, I'm in the Rocky Mountains. There are a lot of big rocks, and toward the end of the day, I'm a little less careful than I need to be sometimes. So that extra thickness does add a nice extra layer of protection, again, without sacrificing too much. So those are my go-tos for this shoe. I use them a lot. I still like them, even though the sole is a little bit thicker than I would typically want it to be. All right, let's go outside. I'll show you a little bit of footage of these in action, and then we'll do a wrap-up. All right, so now you have a little bit of an idea of how these actually look when you're using them. You can see they don't form around the rocks quite as well as some other shoes, but there still is some give there. And of course, it is going to look different on everyone's foot depending on your gait, your weight distribution, and all of that good stuff. But I hope that gives you a little bit better feel of what to expect from the TerraFlex from Xeroshoes. Bottom line, I would recommend these shoes for those specific applications I mentioned earlier. And as long as you're aware that it is a little bit thicker, then just use that for your thicker applications and you're good to go. Make sure to check out my links below. I am an affiliate with Xeroshoes. I don't love them because I'm an affiliate. I'm an affiliate because I love them. And as you can see, I like to be straightforward. These aren't for everyone. They aren't for every situation. But now you have an idea of when and where you can use these shoes. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. This video was brought to you by the Functional Feet program. If you want to learn how to have happy, healthy human feet, or how to transition into minimalist footwear and barefoot living, then head over to movementtraining.co to get all the information you need to know. Also, don't forget to subscribe here on YouTube, like us on Facebook, and follow us on our most active social profile, which is Instagram. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.